While the issue of the gender wage gap has existed in the United States for centuries, recently it has gained the attention of many celebrities. So whether it's Patricia Arquette's acceptance speech at the Oscars or tweets from Beyonce and Lena Dunham, the gendered wage gap has emerged as an issue that has captured pop culture's attention. So this led to an unlikely collaboration between comedian Sarah Silverman and the National Women's Law Center. So together, they created the Equal Payback Project, an attempt to raise the $30 trillion that women have collectively been robbed of due to pay inequality. So clearly this is using humor to attempt to raise money for the National Women's Law Center, where they say, if we don't make the $30 trillion, which obviously they weren't expecting to, they would donate the money to the National Women's Law Center. So Sarah Silverman's involvement in this project was that she created a video for the Equal Payback Project. So in this video, Silverman begins by describing what the gender wage gap is, and then she informs the audience that she's planning to undergo a gender reassignment surgery in order to no longer have to pay, in her words, the vagina tax. So clearly this is problematic for several reasons, but she goes on and we see the process of Silverman attempting to seek gender reassignment before she urges her audience to please donate to the National Women's Law Center. So this leads me to my overarching research question. How does Sarah Silverman's appropriation of the male body rhetorically alienate her from her audience? And I argue that she does this in two ways: through the abandonment of the female form and through the appropriation and trivialization of the trans male experience. So the method that I use to examine the artifact, which is the specific video that Silverman made, is Kenneth Burke's theories on humor and his theory of identification. So typically feminists haven't necessarily had a good relationship with Burke, and feminist theory and Burkean theory doesn't really mesh, but there has been a recent movement in feminist rhetorical theory to reclaim Burke and use it in rhetorical analyses. So that is what I did. In Attitudes Towards History, Burke cites satire and irony as the strategies that human beings use to create communities and respond to social situations. So essentially, irony and satire creates perspectives where they might not traditionally exist without a humorous delivery. So he identifies four rhetorical functions of humor, which are identification and clarification, which are unifying functions, and enforcement and differentiation, which are divisive functions. So creating a scapegoat or creating an us and an other. I also look at Burke's theory of identification. So strategies of identification are used to construct our personas and to seek communion in our society. Consubstantial identification suggests that the rhetor and their audience are composed of the same substance and share a common goal or motive. So I argue that Sarah Silverman attempts to use consubstantial identification and constitutive rhetoric and satire and irony, but fails to do so, similar to how some queer theorists look at a text, argue that it appears queer, but it actually is not. So I also look at Judith Butler's theory of performativity. We're probably all familiar with Butler, but she argues that gender is a social construct, that we perform gender on a daily basis. And she claims that while gender play is a necessary and subversive tool, it can be very easily abused, as we will see as I further explore the artifact. So my first claim is that Silverman's satirical decision to undergo gender reassignment surgery represents the abandonment of female corporeality and the designation of men as the more desirable sex. So there are many examples of this throughout the video, but for the purpose of time, I'm just going to take a look at one example. So at one point in the video, she asks the doctor administering the surgery if she can have two really big balls, because she feels like she's going to be a ball man. So she then changes her mind and asks for 3 balls due to the fact that it's going to take a lot of balls to convince women that the wage gap is fair. Sarah Silverman's acceptance of a projected male future signifies her a complete adoption of the male body and the privileged experience that accompanies it. So The satirical direction behind this joke is invalidated by Silverman's projected male self expecting to repeat problematic gendered aggressions. So it's not like she's saying, I'm going to become a man and fight for pay equality. She's going to become a man and instantly adopt all the privileges that men already have. This also suggests that men don't play a role in achieving pay equality. This is an issue solely for women. So essentially arguing, women, it is your job to pay yourselves back. So Silverman establishes herself as male, rhetorically alienating herself from her female audience. She's not saying this is us working together. This is me appropriating a new, more privileged form, and you are the ones who have to solve this problem. So once Silverman is established as male, the other women in the video are rendered subordinate through various rhetorical strategies. So many times the other women in the video who aren't Sarah Silverman, aka the man in the video, they're denied speech. They serve props as, props for her jokes and different things like that. So they're basically just denied a lot of agency. And I'd go further into it, but I would be happy to send you my paper if you are interested in how this is further explicated in the video. So I'll move on to my second claim, which is that Silverman's performance in the Equal Payback Project also serves to appropriate and trivialize the trans male experience. So another scene in the video features Silverman choosing which penis she wants as her own once she transitions into a man. So she's presented with a medical tray full of disembodied penises. And the penises have names such as the gentleman, the frat boy, and the Seinfeld. So they're all presented to Silverman, and she gets to choose which one she would like as her own. So clearly this trivializes the trans male experience, as if it's as easy to choose a penis and transition into another gender as it is to pick a pair of shoes, which she actually compares it to, saying that she has boots that would match perfectly with the penis that she chose. She's also suggesting that a transitional surgery of that nature is a superficial vanity, something someone does for looks, for the exterior, as opposed to the interior process of transitioning. Where, in this case, where the male body is being objectified, you would think this would be a subversive kind of irony, where we're looking at these disembodied penises much in the way that women's bodies are dissected and looked at. But because it completely ignores the experience of the trans male, the subversive factor no longer is as powerful as it could have been. Additionally, the idea that Silverman has to undergo a gender reassignment surgery to be paid equally to men has problematic implications, obviously for women, but also for trans men. As the doctor is about to close the curtain and begin the surgery, Silverman stops her and says, "Wait, let me say goodbye to my breasts." She proceeds to tell her breasts that it's been a wild ride and that she's going to miss them. After she says a quick goodbye, she's instantly ready to undergo surgery. So this obviously reinforces the binaries with regards to sex, gender, and gender expression. This suggests that Silverman's internal femininity will continue once she is a man. So it's not saying, I'm a man now, I want to become a man. It's saying, I'm a woman and I'm choosing this new experience for myself. So essentially, that's the Equal Payback Project and the video. This video raised only enough to pay back one woman for 9 years of work. It received a lot of negative comments from the trans community, not so much from women, but I feel like it's problematic in both ways, and the alienative rhetoric that was used contributed to its lack of success. The week prior, Sarah Silverman was on one of the most viewed SNL episodes ever, and it went over really well. So it was anticipated that this video was going to raise a lot of money, which it unfortunately did not. I think in another conclusion statement I have in my paper is that this video presents the gendered wage gap in a creative way, but it doesn't offer a creative solution to this problem that has gone on for over a century. So essentially, the representation that Silverman offered in the video was problematic not only for trans men, but also for women. Thank you.